right, welcome back to the Black Caliber Podcast, distinction at its finest. I'm here with
Cyrus D Jones.
Coach Cyrus D Jones, actually my track coach, one of my track coaches. And he just did a lot of good things up here at Lincoln, so we just wanted to come up here and talk about that. But first, where'd you grow up?
Well, originally, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. East side of Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay. How was that? What was it like?
Well, I grew up, it was in the 50s. So it was, blacks lived together in one area, and we had to sometime walk a mile and a half to school if the bus didn't pick us up. But I didn't think much of it then, but I think a lot of it now.
How far you had to walk and all that?
Yes, and the difficult times we had to get to school and to worry about getting home without getting into a fight.
Okay, so you got into a lot of fights.
Well, we had to go through a completely white neighborhood, and it was sort of difficult. We knew every day that we had to perhaps try to find a new way of going home, and not the same way every day, because we knew there would be trouble.
If you tried to go the same way every time?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so where did you go to school at?
Well, it was about 3 or 4 high schools in Jacksonville, and I went to Matthew Williams Gilbert High School, and it was probably the second best black high school in Jacksonville, because Stanton High School was probably the better school. They were on the west side and we were on the east side. And on the east side, there were completely, in our district, black athletes. We had black students. We had no white teachers. All our teachers were black. Principal, assistant principal, counselors, everyone was black.
That had to be nice.
Very nice. Yes.
All right. So then you went there, and then what, college?
Well, I had a plan when I finished high school. I played in the marching band, and I was on the baseball team. But my goal was to become, to get in the Florida A&M marching band. That was a incomparable band. So the first semester, I went to, the first year, a half year, I went to a school called Edward Waters College that I just took some courses so I could stay home and practice my trombone, because I knew going up to that school I had to be one of the best to get in there. And that college was Florida A&M University, better known as FAMU. Right.
Okay. So did you get in?
Yes. The next year, I graduated from high school in 1962. I didn't attend FAMU until 1963. But luckily, my sister, the one sister that I had, she was a Spanish and French major. And the minute she graduated from FAMU, they hired her as a professor at the university. So I was able to get up there, and I know I didn't have enough money, so I lived with her the first year at her place, and I didn't have any problems with finances the first year. And it was a good thing, because I was able to get up there and practice. And I was one of the few music majors that made the band who was not a music major. I was a trombone player, and I made the marching 100, and I wasn't a music major, so that was an accomplishment.
You still play the trombone?
I play my trombone occasionally. And for one reason, I think I hadn't played it for about 35 years, and it was in my basement. And when my sister And my brother died in the same week, about 2 years ago. I went downstairs in my basement and picked my trombone up and started practicing. And at their services, I played Amazing Grace. And I thought, wow, how did I do that? So, and now I still play it on occasionally.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So, like, what are some of the things that happened? Because I know you told me stories about some of the things that happened while you were at FAMU. So,
Well, FAMU, Mr. Hall, better known as Snake Face.
yeah, that's my nickname. Snake Face.
As a freshman, it was in the 60s because I got up there in 63. And during that time, there was a lot of race problems, segregation. So at FAM, as a freshman, we had problems downtown Tallahassee. So the students at FAMU, we got together and went downtown to sit at the counters and protest. But we knew that we would have problems. And when we got downtown, we were certainly met by a host of policemen, fire trucks, and the police dogs. And it was about 500 of us or more. And they surrounded us and put water on us, and they got us into trucks and put us in the jailhouse where it was very crowded. You could barely stand up, it was so crowded. And then they moved us from there to a barn, where they put all us in this barn, and we stayed in jail for 3 days. And my sister didn't know where I was, and she called down to the jailhouse, and they said that, yes, I was in there, and she had to pay $10 bond to get me out. Was that cheap? Very cheap.
Okay.
Yes. So
that was cheap back then. I didn't know.
Yeah, very cheap, right. So that's all she had to do, pay $10 to get me out, and I had missed 3 days of classes. But the school was very sympathetic with us because they knew a bulk of the students had gone down, and we only had, during that time, about 4,000 students at FAM. But today they have 10,000 or more students. So we were a very close-knitted student body.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But other than that, we spent a lot of time because we had an outstanding football team. Our band was probably the best band, one of the best bands in the country, because they called us the Incomparable Marching 100. And it was good. So those are the things that I really enjoyed immensely at FAM, other than some other sports.
Okay. So how did you end up here at Lincoln then?
Well, that's a long story. Coming to Lincoln, when I graduated from FAMU in 1968, and it took me 5 years because I got out a year and I didn't have the money. So in 68, when I graduated, I started to teach in Jacksonville at Butler High School. And as soon as that happened, I got a letter from the United States recruiting, and they drafted me into the service. And I went into the service within 3 months. I found myself in Vietnam, and I spent a year in Vietnam. And one night I was just sitting in bed, lying in bed, and on the radio, after I came from Vietnam, I was in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. And we were all frightened. Every time I would hear something, I would jump and run or jump up under the table because I thought it was incoming from Vietnam. So lying in bed, all of a sudden on the radio, a man said at Indiana University, Bloomington, Indiana, that they would give blacks, a chance to get into grad school. And I jumped up and I said, wow, in the morning I'm going to look into that. And I went to my commanding officer and told him about it. And he started working out because during that time, I was about 22, 23, and all the other soldiers were 19 and 18. So they called me Pop Jones when I was in the service. So the minute we got to, I went to my commanding officer. He said, okay, you just get the paperwork. And the paperwork, I did. So within a month or so, everything was falling in place. And I got an early out to go to college, to go to grad school. And that was Indiana University, Bloomington, Indiana. But to make a long story short, but a short story sort of not very exciting to go to college, was I went to Indiana University in 1970, 71, and I'm thinking that's right. And when I got on campus, I had just a duffel bag getting off of the bus and walking, trying to find the hyper department, and that's health, physical education, and recreation. A truckload of kids, white boys, was on the back of a truck, and they said, go home, the N-word. And I said, oh no, coming from Vietnam, I can't do this. I'm gonna go home. So I went to my advisor, Dr. Cooper, who was my advisor and the kinesiology professor. And he said to me, and I told him what happened, and I didn't want to be there. He said, no, Jones, you came up here for a reason. You can't pay them any attention. You came up here for education. And he was very instrumental in helping me. And then all of a sudden, he said to me, I said, well, I don't have a place to live. And he got one of his upperclassmen to find me a room. And they found me a room. And when I went to the house, it was a white lady had this house. And I said, oh my goodness, I wondered, does she know I'm black? And she immediately didn't say a word. She allowed me to come in, and she put me upstairs in that room. And I stayed in that room for one semester at Indiana. But the question that you asked me, how did I get to Lincoln? So the thing that happened when I left Indiana, I said, what am I going to do now? I had my degree. It took me a year and a half to get my master's. So when I got my master's, I said, what am I going to do now? And so what happened, I said, I'm going to see my sister. And she was a Spanish teacher in Oberlin, Ohio. And I went to see her, and when I got to her house, she said, and they called me Biggie, big boy, because I was when I was a baby, I used to cry all the time, say, you're a big boy. So she said, Biggie, why don't you just stay here for a while? Her husband, and she had one daughter. So I said, I don't know. She said, I know what I want you to do. Could you go downtown the next day, which on a Monday, and see could you find a job? Because I think they're hiring at the courthouse. I said, the courthouse. So I said, I loved her so much, and she was my inspiration as long as I could remember. So I said, well, I'll go down. And I went to the courthouse. And the judge, the judge interviewed me and asked me, had I ever been a probation officer? I said, no. So, and in that area of Elyria and Lorraine, it was the probation department. And they didn't have any blacks in that department. So they hired me that same day and told me to come to work at the beginning of the next week. And I did, and I became a probation officer for 2 years in Ohio, Elyria, Ohio. So it was a good thing. So I said to myself that I really wanted to, I was sort of tired of being a probation officer. So I went to my a buddy of mine worked over in York, Pennsylvania, And he said to me, Cyrus, there are 2 jobs opening up here in Pennsylvania. I said, okay, send me the information. He sent me 2 names, York College and Lincoln University. And I wrote both of those colleges. And do you believe, within 2 weeks, I heard from Lincoln, and they wanted to interview me. And I said, okay, so I came up and had an interview, and I said, I don't want to come back in this area. It's too much corn and too country.
It is country.
Right. But what happened, within another month, they wrote me back and asked me did I want the job as an instructor in physical education, and I accepted that.
All right, give me 1 second. Kyrah, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Kyrah. I am a mass comm major, and I'm the co-host for the Black Caliber with Jordan.
Outstanding.
Yeah. All right. So when you got here, you got here for physical education.
Yes. I came in to be an instructor in physical education, and they wanted me to, I thought I was coming in to be the baseball coach. Because, and then once I got here, they asked me, that they told me that the baseball coach job had been taken and they needed a track coach. And they asked me that had I ever coached track, and I prevaricated big time.
Lied.
Yes, saying that I coached track. I had knowledge of track, but I didn't even know how to keep scores. I hadn't run any events. I knew nothing about track. But I said to myself, now this would be a big challenge to me. And no one ever found out that I wasn't a track coach. Because I fooled everyone. Right.
So how'd you do that? So if you never ran track, how did you?
Well, it was sort of very difficult, but I said to myself, if I can coach baseball, and I had the background in kinesiology and the movement of man and all those sports out at Indiana, I said I could do something. But what had happened when I was in Oberlin, I had a friend, Tommy Smith, the Olympian who raised the Clint's fist in 1963. You remember that, right? He was an advocator. When he won the 200, he raised his hand when he got up on stage, up on the podium. Then, so and before I get, it sound dead.
Oh, okay. My fault. That was me. I must have said the wrong thing.
Right. So I went to him because he was the basketball and track coach at Oberlin College, and I told him that I had just gotten a job at Lincoln University as track coach, and I never coached track. So he began to show me how to do the blocks, how to come out of the blocks, and the different type of starts in the block. So that worked out. Until I got here to Lincoln, I decided that wasn't enough. So every day in cross country, I didn't know how to keep cross country scores. I was so petrified the entire time during cross country season that someone would find out that I was a fake. So what I did, I used to go to Villanova. I went over to University of Delaware. I went to Westchester. Every eat, I would just go and stand up in track practice, cross country practice, and just listen to coaches and do what I had and try to get knowledge. Until I found out there was a cross country meet coming up, and I said, "Oh, am I gonna get someone gonna find out that I can't score in cross country?" But I started reading, and luckily, I was able to do the scoring in cross country. And I said, I've almost won this battle. So, and that was just in cross country. But every day, I would find out something about track. And in 1974, when I first got up here and started doing cross country and track, I had 60 women on the track team and maybe 40 or 50 men, because I was 29 years old, and all those girls were just coming in and said, they got a new coach down there, it's a new coach, a young coach. So and in the morning we would come, get up at 5 o'clock and go outside and run. And we would run, getting ready for cross country. And we had so many people, and I was the only track coach. And as time went on, I just started doing things to make myself better as a track coach. And still, I didn't tell a soul that I never ran track or coached cross country. And to this day, I began to put it out now. Right.
Well, it's going to be out.
You're successful now, so it don't matter, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So with no background in track, how do you feel like that affected your ability to coach? Because it's like you still were able to find success in being a track coach,
right,
with no prior experience. So,
to this day, I don't know. Was it that I had a handicap? I didn't have enough knowledge in track, because working at Lincoln University, Division III school, once I started coaching and taking my team around and bringing teams here, and we had the track was right with a new bit, not the LLC, right? That's where our old track was, and it was a cinder track. And we used to bring Millersville, all the schools, Kutztown, all those schools used to come here to run. So, and we would beat up on all those schools until we started getting a team that they said, how did Lincoln become so great in track, good in track? So, the vice president said, Cyrus Jones, if the first time you get us a national championship or you get a good team, we're going to get you a track. And that's what happened. We became so strong in track till the school paid over $400,000 for a track in the 80s, 1983. We got our first track down where the baseball field is now. So, and again, I don't know what happened. Was I just a person to fool people, or was I that convincing in what I did? And obviously I was, because as a track coach at Lincoln University in the 80s and 90s, I was the president of the Coaches Association of all the coaches, and it moved on until we became Division I, Division II, and Division III. All the coaches and college coaches and the junior college. So they still say, Cyrus Jones, we want you to be on the executive committee of all of the coaches in the country. And I said, how did this happen? And still, I'm looking at the knowledge that I had about track. Still, I must have fooled a lot of people, because for many years, I was the president of all the Coaches Association. And it just became a part of me to say, Cyrus Jones, something is happening, and the knowledge that you're picking up about track is outstanding. And, so that's the way it went for many years. I coached here for 4 decades. Do you believe that?
40 years.
42 years. 4 plus 2.
Yeah, and you feel like, because I know when you coach me, at least, you always make sure to emphasize discipline. So even if you didn't know that much about track, do you feel like what helped carry you to where you were able to get? Because you still haven't said the number of championships or anything you've won yet.
Right. Well, discipline was so important to me. I refused to have anyone to use profanity in my presence. And the other members knew. They said, y'all better not go down there and use profanity in the front of coach. He'll put you out or put you off of the team. And I wouldn't put them off the team, but if someone used profanity, then the whole team, men and women, would suffer. And just talking to another class this year over in the hyper department, and you know what they said to me, and it really made me feel bad. They said, well, I don't think you'll be able to coach today because the discipline. I used to lock my door for classes if they're late. I lock the door.
Some professors still do that.
And you know, when we would go on a trip, if I had an Olympian, I took one of my runners to Barcelona in '92, and in '96 I took him to Atlanta, Georgia. And he was on my team, and if he was late, and I told him to be there at 7:00, and they weren't there, and they were coming across when the bus was pulling out. I said, "Driver, keep going." Or if we were in the van, I wouldn't wait for him. And those kind of things resonated to others. They would say, "Boy, y'all better not be late." So when I say we're gonna leave at 7:00 or 7:30. And I would pull up at 6:00 or 6:30 to go into my office to get something. And when I pull up on campus, everybody's standing outside or sitting outside waiting for the coach. And that was just discipline. You know, we would go to a trip and we would stop to eat. And the lady, the secretary, or the waitress would say, waiter would say, are you punishing them? I said, what do you mean? Everybody is so quiet and sitting down and eating correctly and eating, not correctly, just eating. And when they finish, if they had 2 cents left, or 5 cents left, or 50 cents, what do you think they had to do with that? They had to leave it for a tip. And if someone didn't leave a tip, they said, Coach, he didn't leave a tip. So those are kind of things that made me feel as if I was not only being a track coach, but a teacher and a parent. To tell them that those people work in here. They're trying to make a salary. So you can't be mean to them. They're waiting on you. So leave what you have. And it really grew. And I didn't have to mention that to anyone when we went on a trip. Not anymore. Yes. But it has been a difficult job because I think Lincoln University, with me not being able to, not knowing track, and the things that I've learned, sometimes I think, what college did I finish from? Because Lincoln has become an integral part of me. I mean, so much till sometimes I forget that I didn't attend Lincoln University. So and even here at Lincoln, I was the dean of men one year. I was the athletic director for 20 years. Wow. And I taught track and field, and any job that they had, I had it. And they even had me over the fraternities at one time. And I wouldn't let any of my athletes pledge. Mm-hmm. If you've pledged, then you just get off of the team until you finish that. And it was a discipline thing, and it's not that I hated fraternities, no, but it was just the two didn't go together. Right? And sororities. Right. Yes.
So do you feel like after everything you had to do to, get knowledge on taking score for cross country and everything, you feel like all of that was worth it where you're standing now in life?
Yes, because doing all of that, and it has made me a figurehead in track and field. When they name track and field coaches, Cyrus Jones is always mentioned, whether it's Division 1, 2, or 3. And after you win 17 national championships, and then you have over 350 All-Americans. And today we have just a host of coaches all over the country. And I was just telling Mr. Hall, better known as Snakeface, that, how those kids call me and ask me questions about track and field and the things that they're doing and how they're having problems with kids today. So, and I think it has really gave me a spruce in life working here at Lincoln University, because if I didn't come to Lincoln and work, I don't know where I would be today. Yes, because it wasn't, when I came to Lincoln in 1974, my salary was $11,000 a year. Yes, $11,000. And I was just as happy as a lark. I thought I was rich because as a probation officer in Ohio, I made $8,000. So, but you know, the money was not that important to me. Just to have all those kids coming in my office every day, not one, not two, they would come by my office every day after practice and during the day. They say, "Coach, what are you doing?" And they would congregate in my office, and I would say, "I hope they don't come by today." But that's every day. And it was just like a family. And it still goes on today, the number of people that call me.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, because I heard a couple stories, like I said, about the infamous Coach Jones throwing, what was it, oranges on the track. People were running.
Right.
And tying people behind the truck.
Right. Well, see, I guess.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Right. Well, some of those days it was just discipline. And a lot of time I was acting to make sure that they thought that I was just crazy in the head.
Yeah, because you were successful. The stories I hear,
right?
He's still scared of you.
Oh no, it's just, you know, in Oxford, I guess back then I probably if I'm in this area, somebody that's as old as me doing a round, they would say, "You don't tie anybody to the trucks anymore." I used to get get ropes so long and tie everybody up and let them. And I would drive and drive and run up hills to see if they could keep up. And it was always frightening if someone fall. But they'll put me in jail today if I even thought about doing that. Right. So, but it has been a great time working at Lincoln University.
Oh, okay. Can I have my phone?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Right. So, you said you had 17 national championships.
17 national championships.
How many Olympians?
I had one Olympian.
One?
At a Division school, at a Division III school. And he still keeps in touch. In fact, I just talked to him.
Isn't that Worm? Coach Worm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I got to meet him.
Clive Terry Long. Yes.
All right. So, when did you retire?
Well, I retired in 2016. Is that going on 7 years, right? Right, going on 7 years.
Nah, that's like 11.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's been a while.
2016. Yeah, it's 2022.
So it's 7 years, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
16, man. My math's awful.
Right.
I said
Right,
that on live, too. I might have to get that out. I said 11 years. Ooh.
I was like, wait a minute.
I started thinking about leaving out of this area, but I don't know. I wouldn't know anybody in Jacksonville because at age, I go back there, everybody is probably down with the groundhogs. So, but I enjoy in this area immensely because it's quiet. It's not too many violent things going on. So I still like it.
Everybody know not to mess with Coach Cyrus Jones anyway.
I don't know about that. Yes, it's a good feeling coming on campus and being able to use the facilities and not have to get permission. So it's good.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I was gonna say, so what type of impacts do you feel like you've really been able to make just on other people of color and people who came through Lincoln?
Wow, you know, if you were to come to a picnic at Lincoln or a golf outing or just something that Lincoln has with alumni coming back, and they would and they would say, and just like the president, I taught the president, and she always mentioned that she was afraid to come in my swimming class, but she was a good student. But the thing is, if you were to ask students about Coach Jones, he was not the track coach. He was the coach of the university. And you go to those events, everybody knows Cyrus Jones, Coach Jones, Coach Jones, and I don't come up to homecoming because it's just too stressful trying to know the names and remember everybody's name. But in the university, 800, 1,000 students back there during the 70s, the 80s, it was like I knew everybody on the campus because if a fight broke out, they said, go get Coach. We had some bad things that happened on the campus. They said, go get Coach. So it was, I thought I had a good impact because in 1983, maybe 1983, they fired all the coaches. We had 11 coaches on campus. All baseball, track, soccer, and the president, when we found out that all the coaches had been fired, they wanted to bring in new coaches. Cyrus Jones' name wasn't in that pack. And I said, whoa, what's happening? But I was able to stay in and continue to coach until I, moved up to, and I was an instructor, and then I moved up to assistant professor, and then I moved up to associate professor. And then it's just, I said, I think this is the place that I should have come in the beginning because I made an impact not only on the students, but on my colleagues. Because in faculty meetings, they would always say, Coach, go up and say something. And it was never nothing derogative or mean. I wasn't afraid that they would fire me, but they couldn't fire tenured professors anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So how's life been since retirement?
Well, it's good. I enjoy coming up to see you 2 days a week or 3 days a week, whatever, and it's a good thing. I do traveling. I walk every day. I exercise. I enjoy baseball, and I enjoy watching football. So it's a good thing. I just enjoy this area. But I think when you turn 102, you have to just look out and make sure that things that you take care of yourself, exercise, and continue to do what you're supposed to do to have a good life.
Like you say, you do your push-ups every day.
Every night. Every night. But it doesn't help. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the gist of it. I have enjoyed this place immensely. And I see the students today are just a little different from what I think I could do, handle, because life is different. Life is different. And my job now is to go out in the community and to walk into Coatesville, to walk into Kennett Square, to walk into Oxford, to get people to think about it, and especially young people, to vote and to have a good time. But we must vote as young college students, and that's what I do right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, did you vote?
I did vote.
I voted too.
Everybody should vote. If you're 18 and over, vote.
Please, I thank
do
you
your
so
research
very much.
too.
Yeah. Black voters matter. We should say that. Like, don't think your voice don't matter. Like,
oh my goodness, you about to make me cry. Right. Good job.
Vote. Look in the camera and say that.
Vote. Right.
All right, Coach Jones, thank you for having us and for coming on.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and it make me feel good that somebody still care about me, and that again, I have every night, 2 or 3 times, somebody, track runners or track people call, and those track girls call and bring. They're always sending me clothes or sending me something that I need, food that I don't need, and think I need money. And I say, I don't. Right.
Yeah, you got that.
But it's good.
You got it going on. They don't even know.
Yeah,
Right.
he got that Benz. Man,
Right.
I know that Benz.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I certainly appreciate you having me.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, before we close out, can I get you to say, this is the Black Caliber podcast? The
This
Black
is the Black College podcast.
Black Caliber.
This is the Black Caliber podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
Distinction at its finest.